Thank y'all so much for joining us for this webinar today where we dive into Assistive Technology 101. We are going to be sharing with you a lot of resources, and I am so glad that you're with us today. We're excited also about this collaboration with the Disability Employment Initiative and this webinar series. We do hope that this is a conversation that continues and that you'll continue to dive into this important subject. I am very glad that I am also joined by several of our awesome assistive technology practitioners and specialists, and so we're lucky to have Liz and Danny with us today. Also want to let you know that we're going to be recording this, and it will be archived, and you will be able to access it throughout your time. If you want to use it in multiple ways, you sure can. Feel free to share it with whomever you would like. And so I'm going to turn it to Liz so that she can go ahead and tell you a little bit about the webinar platform itself and our learning objectives. After I let you know that I'm Carolyn Phillips, and I am the director here of Tools for Life, and also for the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation Service and Education efforts. I have been in the field for many, many years, and this is personal and professional for me. I am also not just a practitioner, but I'm also a person with learning disabilities, and I use assistive technology every single day. And so I'm going to turn this on over to my other awesome peers and partners and subject matter experts. So Liz?
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Persad. I am the Program and Outreach Manager for Tools for Life, which is the Assistive Technology program here at Georgia Tech under the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation. I'm very happy to be joining you all today to talk about another one of my most favorite topics and something I'm very passionate about, which is assistive technology. So looking forward to sharing all sorts of great information and resources with you during our time together. And I will pass the microphone over to Danny now.
Good morning, everybody. This is Danny Housley. I'm the Assistive Technology Acquisition Manager here at Tools for Life. So I work with folks to find funding solutions to acquire some of the wonderful technologies we're going to talk about today. And I'm also a lifelong AT user myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. So as Carolyn mentioned, before we jump into the content of today's webinar, I was just going to go through a few housekeeping tips with you. Wanted to let everyone know that we are recording and archiving today's webinar, so you will be able to access this in the future as a resource and a reference as you're supporting the folks that you are working with. So today's webinar, again, we're going to focus on assistive technology 101, and really and truly it is an assistive technology revolution. We are so excited that the world around us is evolving at an astounding rate. Assistive technology developments have been foundational in this evolution and a catalyst for producing positive, life-changing results for individuals with disabilities. So during today's session, we're going to take a look at a number of different topics when it comes to this assistive technology revolution, if you will. So we'll talk a little bit about the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation, and of course Tools for Life, just sharing some resources and more information about our program. We'll dive deeper into assistive technology, defining what low, light tech to middle and high tech solutions are, and how you all can understand a little bit more about the difference between those features. We'll dive deeper into assistive technology strategies and solutions, and just talk to you all in general about acquiring assistive technology, and of course sharing some examples of some of our top assistive technology devices, equipment, and other apps that we think y'all will definitely benefit from. And of course we're going to do all of this in 60 minutes and absolutely less than that. So when it comes to the learning objectives today, you all by the end of today's session will be leaving with knowledge, skills, and abilities to assist in the collective work to build inclusive communities, educational systems, and workplaces. And at the end of today's webinar, you'll be able to list the 7 core activities of Tools for Life, the statewide program here in Georgia. You'll also be able to name 4 assistive technology devices that are used for independent living. And lastly, you'll be able to identify 5 resources to support the people that you serve every day.
So our mission here at Tools for Life is based on the Assistive Technology Act law. If you read that awesome piece of legislation that funds the Tools for Life program here in Georgia and the 56 other Assistive Technology Act programs in different states and territories, then you would see that it flows very much like this. And so what we're here to do is to help Georgians, and the other Assistive Technology Act programs are, there to help their citizens of the states and territories. So we're here to help Georgians of all ages and all disabilities gain access to and acquisition of assistive technology devices and also assistive technology services. So folks can live, learn, work, and play independently in communities of your choice. This is very important, this mission, and we strive every day to accomplish this mission. And when we're talking about acquisition of and access to, we're going to explain that in more detail on the next few slides. When we're thinking about how we can be a resource to all of you and also folks across the country and internationally, we've developed it's a solution website as opposed to just a resource. And so Liz has been our lead for this, and she's going to talk to you in more detail about this.
So this is a screenshot of the homepage of the Tools for Life website, and as Carolyn said, we just want this to be your one-stop shop here in Georgia to learn about all things assistive technology, whether it's devices, whether it's information about training, funding, events that are going on, finding apps, just learning about all things assistive technology. So as you can see here, there are all different features on our website. We encourage you to visit our website at your convenience, browse through some of our presentation archives, check out where we're going to be next, any events that we are hosting, co-hosting, including our statewide conference that's coming up in early June, the IDEAS Conference, which is the institute designed for educating all students. All of that information is going to be on our website. So again, we encourage y'all to take the time to browse through, collect those resources, and please use this as just a way to get and stay connected and updated with assistive technology in Georgia.
So we have a network, and our network is really extensive, and it's a collaborative of a lot of partners that we have. What we've done is expanded this network over time strategically to make sure that no one has to drive more than an hour and a half or 2 hours to get assistive technology. And so we are ever evolving in this, and it really is a very cool network that includes our Centers for Independent Living, our area agencies on aging, our Aging and Disability Resource Centers, and then our Assistive Technology Act partners who are Assistive Technology Resource Centers themselves. You'll also see very unique partnerships that are on here. For example, with the Center for Financial Independence and Innovation, which is all about acquisition and obtaining loans. And they are collaborative with us when it comes to the Credit Able program, which Danny is the manager of that. And then you'll also see Friends of Disabled Adults and Children, which is one of the national leaders when it comes to assistive technology reuse. So a big mix of assistive technology access, where you can try before you buy, and also acquisition. And we'll move to the next slide. So we have the labs, Access Labs, and what we mean by that is you can actually come in, try things out. Technology, as Liz said, and as Danny has referenced, it's changing all the time. And so this is a living laboratory, if you will, full of assistive technology solutions. Even yesterday we were talking about different technology that we're going to be buying specifically for the lab. We have items for people who have vision-related disabilities, learning disabilities, cognitive-related disabilities, a lot when it comes to communication devices, some really cool solutions when it comes to adaptations and modifications for the workplace, whether it's looking at environmentally and ergonomically, correct, if you will, desks and chairs, but also looking at lighting and understanding how that can really help. Looking at access to the computer, whether it's through switches or keyboards or mice. There are over 600 different types of keyboards out there and over 400 different types of mice. And so when people have said, we've tried everything, I would challenge them and say, nope, I bet you haven't. Let's keep trying. We're also diving deeper into the Internet of Things and environmental control, not just for home, but also for the work environment. The other thing that continues to emerge is 3D printing technology, and so we've got some really cool examples of that within our lab. You'll find aspects of this lab throughout the state, throughout the network, and then you can also come visit us here and see this up close and interact with it. So when we're talking about what exactly is assistive technology, this actually is a definition that you'll see that shows up in various pieces of legislation. For example, when the Workforce Investment Opportunities Act was referring to assistive technology, this is the definition that they were referring to. Same thing in education acts, and then also some of the Veterans Acts, along with some of the things that you'll see even in agriculture with agro-ability. And looking within the aging space. And so the way that it's defined is assistive technology is any item or piece of equipment that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities in all aspects of life. And that includes at school, at work, at home, and in the community. So this is a very important definition, and one that we hope that you're not just aware of, but that you also understand that it really could be anything.
So when it comes to assistive technology, we are always thinking about assistive technology on a continuum. Earlier we had mentioned low, no tech, middle tech, and high tech. We're often thinking about the different categories of assistive technology, especially when we're providing supports around individuals. So this could be during our assistive technology assessments, if you will. We often say that we are doing these observations by hanging out with intent. We try to kind of avoid some of the terminology of observations or case studies or, this is our client. We really and truly are spending time with the individual. We're observing them, we're having conversations with them, we're really paying attention to how they maneuver in their environment and what assistive technologies would be best to help them be more independent. So assistive technology is a continuum of tools, strategies, and services that match a person's needs, abilities, and tasks. So as you can see here in this first box, this is just a few examples of low and no tech assistive technology. So things like pencil grips or adapted books, highlighters, tape. These are all things that can often be free, low cost, things like proofreaders, note takers, even a dry erase board. And then you'll see that we move more towards middle tech, and these could be items that are just kind of up one level. Maybe they use batteries, they have to be plugged in, some spell checkers, talking calculators, digital recorders, ebooks, all sorts of adapted keyboard, mice, toys, even apps that are under $100 would fall under that middle tech category, if you will. And then lastly, we move towards high tech. So this is when we're talking about computers and laptops or tablets, smartphones, OCR software. OCR is optical character recognition, magnification software, switches, joysticks, even power wheelchairs with multifunctions, scanning access, voice recognition, those environmental controls that Carolyn mentioned just earlier. And these would also include any apps that are over $100. So when you're thinking about assistive technology, it's important that you aren't just being cookie cutter, you aren't sticking to one of these categories. They can range for an individual at any time. As a professional living with a disability, I often share with people that I use upwards of 27 to 32 pieces of assistive technology every single day. And those are, they range across this continuum, if you will. So sometimes I'm using low to no tech solutions all the way up to some high tech solutions. It just depends on the time of day, the environment, and the activity I'm trying to accomplish.
So as we move to the next slide, it's important to be aware that all of those low to no tech solutions, mid tech, high tech solutions really build upon each other. It's not necessarily that you would only have high tech solutions or that you would only have mid or low tech solutions. It's usually an array, just like Liz is saying. That's true for me, also as a person with learning disabilities. And along with the definition of assistive technology, our Assistive Technology Act defined what an assistive technology service is. This is important because if you just are going out and just buying things and you don't have some guidance, that can be complex, and you can often find abandonment. So what we do is we often spend time with folks like you, individuals with disabilities, sometimes employers, sometimes in public access spaces, and we think about these services and provide these services, and then also figure out what assistive technology that you need. So an assistive technology service is defined that it's any service that directly helps an individual with a disability in selection, acquisition, or use of a device. And so, as you can tell, it actually ranges from evaluating, demonstration, providing the device, loans, if you will, of equipment, selecting, sometimes it's designing or fabrication or customizing. If you come visit us here, you would actually see we have a fabrication lab downstairs. Then it also includes repairing and maintaining and coordinating that, along with training, technical assistance, and it could be to not just the individual with a disability, but whoever it is that's involved. So it could be the HR representatives or a family member or peers, who knows. So our services here at Tools for Life, once again, follow the Assistive Technology Act, and we have a range. The first one is information and assistance, and we take that very seriously. We answer upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 calls specifically about assistive technology for work every year. We are also doing assistive technology assessments and then assistive technology demonstrations. That equipment lending program is truly dynamic, and it's one that I think not as many folks within the work environment take advantage of, and I'd love to see even more folks aware of that and taking advantage of that. We do group trainings, we do webinars just like this, focused specific on topics that would be of interest to you, and then we also have individual training. The other piece that is incredibly important is that acquisition piece. And so this is one of the areas that Danny leads, and he's amazing at this, which comes to funding education and also solutions through alternative financing. Also, we have other resources that we can point people to when it comes to assistive technology reuse. We have done such a good job and lead the country in almost all of these areas. We're in the top 4 or 5. But in assistive technology reuse, we've done such an outstanding job that in 2006, we were awarded a grant and we were able to create the National Pass It On Center that still exists and still helps people across the country and even folks internationally. We had a couple of emails yesterday from Africa around reuse of assistive technology. So I love this image that is over here, and it says team. Together, everyone achieves more. And so, Liz, I guess you had found that particular image. And so we do take that, not just as our Tools for Life team, but we take that very seriously when we're working with you, when we're working with individuals with disabilities, and really looking at it's a team approach. The number one, the top person on that list of that team is really the individual with a disability. We are absolutely person-centered, and we believe in informed choice. And that is who should be driving the team. And we're there to help. The next groups that we find, often it's family of choice or circle of support. It could be folks like you also helping out. I don't like this term so much of case manager. I often put that in air quotes because I don't consider myself a case, but case manager could be rehabilitation counselors, could be employment specialists, technologists, OTs, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, engineers, and even folks, neighbors, that can come in and help. I've even had folks like bus drivers or other folks who want to help people get to work that have been a part of this team approach. Another important model for you to keep in mind when it comes to assistive technology is thinking about a systematic way or process of how do you select the appropriate assistive technology. This is developed by Cook and Hussey, and it's looking first at the human, so HAT is the acronym, Activity, Assistive Technology. And so that's what the HAT stands for, H-A-A-T. You'll see a similar thing in education called the SET, which is Student, Environment, Technology, and Task. And so what we're looking at here is first the human, what skills and abilities, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses that the person brings. Then the next piece is what is the activity? Sometimes people look at an individual and they'll say, oh, you have learning disabilities, or gosh, you have vision-related disabilities. You know what? You need to use all these technologies. Well, maybe not. Let's look at the activity and see what it is that the person's struggling with, what they're trying to accomplish. And then the array of assistive technology solutions and strategies that are out there that can help bridge that gap. And then, once again, considering the context. What is it we need to think about? Is the person working in a open environment? Are they in a cube? Do they have their own office? Is the parking close to the front door? Is the door automatically going to open? So what are the environmental aspects we need to think about? And that's what we mean by working through this model of the HAT. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is helping people stay off of the fast track, because that fast track leads truly nowhere positive. And a lot of folks with disabilities have been living on this fast track, where it's frustration, anxiety, stress, and tension. And honestly, assistive technology can help significantly when it comes to getting folks in managing that fast track or getting off the fast track. And so think about that too. We're seeing an increase in folks coming with depression and anxiety and stress, and so we just want to keep it moving that way. So we'll move on, and we're going to take a much deeper look at assistive technology. I'm going to turn it over to Liz, who is our subject matter expert when it comes to this particular topic of physical access. So Liz, take it away.
Thank you, Carolyn. So these next two slides, I'm going to touch on physical access and just some quick solutions just to kind of get you all up to speed on what's available out there and just some different assistive technologies that y'all can research. So for physical access, oftentimes individuals are using their voice to type. So we call this speech to text. I'm somebody who uses my voice for everything from text messages to sending emails to controlling my environment. And so we've highlighted three options up here that we just want you all to be familiar with. So over on the left-hand side is a logo for a program that's very popular. It has been around for, almost 30 years, and it's called Dragon, Naturally Speaking. This is one of the most robust speech-to-text types of software out there. I certainly encourage you all to do some research on it. There are two types of Dragon softwares out there for professionals and for individuals. The pricing has come down tremendously over the years. I was actually just looking at this over the weekend, and I believe the professional version is down to $300 now, which is pretty significant. Years ago, it used to be upwards of $800 and even more. So Dragon Naturally Speaking is a great resource. In the middle is just the image for iOS products, for Apple products, if you will, of the microphone. So I'm very lucky that that is already built in through the use of Siri. I have an iPhone. I use Siri for everything on my phone, opening apps, to communicating with people, to navigation, to writing documents and spreadsheets for work, you name it. So oftentimes my friends and colleagues give me a hard time because their text messages are very short, but I use my voice and I'm sending novels to people all the time. So I like to communicate that way. And then over on the right-hand side, this is really awesome. Windows Speech Recognition. It's built into your Windows platform. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I encourage you to check out your PC, your Windows machine, if you will, and dive deeper into the ease of access section, and you'll be able to find all sorts of accessibility options. But play around with Windows speech recognition. As the different versions are getting updated, it's getting better and better, and it's really catching up to Dragon Naturally Speaking, if you will. Keyboards, as Carolyn mentioned, there are over 600 different types of keyboards out there. So up here, just a visual on different types of keyboards that we encourage y'all to check out. So over on the left-hand side is a keyboard that somebody who maybe can only use one hand can operate. So you can rest your palm there, and you can use your fingers to type in just different inputs there on the keyboard. In the middle at the top is a large keyboard with big yellow buttons and bold black text. This is great for individuals who have physical difficulty. Those are big keys, so you don't have to really hunt and peck. If you hit one key and you're having some dexterity issues, more than likely you're not going to hit another key by accident. This is also a great keyboard to help individuals that have low vision or and having difficulty with that, because they can see the keys better. That high contrast is very helpful to them. Down below is a Braille keyboard. This is somebody who has no vision, who reads Braille. They're able to type Braille in real time and get it out that way. So again, just another keyboard. Over on the right-hand side, this is another keyboard that's really small. There are so many different options out there for small handheld keyboards. This is one that you would hold in your hand. It just looks like a little paddle, if you will. So you would use your thumbs to type, and hopefully you can zoom in there and see that there's a trackpad on one and a little trackball on the other. So again, just being able to use that with one hand, or just being able to hold it just with both hands, but it's small and easy to manage. Some more images up here for overall computer access. These are just different options when it comes to trackpads and mice, and just different ways that you would input into your computer. So over on the left-hand side is an ergonomic mouse. You can see the individual's hand is shaped on this mouse in a very natural way. They often say that your hand is positioned naturally as if you're going in for a handshake. And so that's how you would be sitting with your hand on the table and moving that mouse around. I've tried that before. It's actually very comfortable as opposed to turning your hand flat like you would traditionally with a typical mouse. Over in the middle at the top is a traditional mouse, but it's very small. This is actually the mouse I use every single day. Because it is smaller, with my limited mobility and dexterity issues, I don't have to move it around on a large mouse pad or a trackpad. I can keep it in a very small, close quarter area, if you will, so maybe like a 4-inch space, and just maneuver my screen that way. Love those little mini mice, if you will. Over at the bottom in the middle is a trackpad, so just another way to input. This trackpad, there are wireless ones, there are some with that are corded, but either way, you can position those any way you need. They can be beside your keyboard. If you need to put it on your lap, if you need to move it into a different mounted area, you can do that. Usually it's a hard surface, so you're not having to worry about flexibility like with a mouse pad, if you will. And that way you can just rest your hand any way you want. You can do different gestures that way if you're able to do that. But again, it just provides an easier surface to access your computer. And then over on the right side is a traditional trackball. Trackballs are great. With a mouse, you've got to really move it around, so that takes some of that upper arm strength, even up to your shoulder, if you will. With a trackball, your hand is resting on it, and you're just moving that ball around, and then you can let go, and you can move your finger to click a button. So there's that trackball there. Environmental controls. This is so exciting. Again, I am somebody who uses my voice for everything: turning on lights, opening doors, unlocking the door, accessing music, audiobooks, getting the time and the temperature, changing colors of lights, turning on the television, listening to music, you name it, I am pretty much doing it with my voice. So up here are just the different examples of different environmental controls that are available out there. On the left-hand side is an environmental control that somebody who has low vision would be using. Again, you can just see the way it's positioned. There's different buttons up there that somebody can get familiar with. I believe this one might give some audio feedback, but again, just very helpful for somebody with low vision. On the bottom left, we've got the Amazon Echo. How many of you out there are familiar with Amazon products, Amazon Echo, using the Alexa? So you can certainly say things like, Alexa, what time is it? Or Alexa, what's the weather today? Or even Alexa, what does my commute look like on the way to work? But did you know that you could use Alexa to turn on and off the lights? You can control your temperature. There's so much more you can do to actually access your environment. So again, just the whole world of independent living is really right there and available way quicker and way faster than we've ever expected. The image in the middle at the top is of a lock with numbers on it. So this is another awesome way for someone to access their security in their office, in their home environment, you name it. So this lock, you don't have to stick a key in. I don't know about y'all, but keys can be very difficult. They're small if your hands are full. Just for anybody, you've got to fiddle with getting that key into a tiny keyhole and then turning it. With this lock, you've got that lever, so your hand or maybe even tying a handkerchief or something can help you open that lever. But all you've got to do is punch in those buttons. For me, I've got that set up with Google Home. And so I can just say, unlock the door. And when I've got a visitor, I don't want to leave the door unlocked for just anybody. So now if Carolyn or Danny or anybody wants to come visit me and they ring that doorbell, I can say, hey Google, unlock the door is unlocked, and then they can walk right in, which is pretty cool.
And Liz, I think you and I both are so excited about all of these environmental controls.
Yes.
And you're right on about how frustrating it is. I know some of the work environments we go to, there's still people with disabilities standing outside a door.
Yes.
And now we know we can solve that. Same thing with turning on and off alarm systems.
Yes.
And controlling the air. So I'm so glad that you're hitting all of those.
Absolutely, yes. I'm very lucky that here at our building at Georgia Tech, I'm able to be in my power wheelchair, roll up to the front door. Just as everybody has their access card here on campus, I actually have one that's attached to my wheelchair. So I'm able to get it connected to the door opens up automatically. All of a sudden I can enter into the building. When I'm ready to go into our suite to visit my team members, I can just roll up to the door. Again, it triggers the opening of the door, and then all of a sudden I'm in. Prior to that, I would have to have somebody with me. I'd have to wait around to ask for help. But again, all of these technological breakthroughs are truly making it possible for people like me just to be independent and not thinking about disability as you're just moving through life every day. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on low-tech and no-tech solutions that could really help with physical access, if you will. So over on the left-hand side, there are different pencil and pen grips. These are all very inexpensive items that you can buy pretty much at any store, even the drugstore when you're out and about. But these are just little rubber extensions, if you will, that you could slip your writing utensil in, and it makes holding and grasping and writing so much easier. Over in the middle, there's just a large print calendar. Again, some of these things that you could think, gosh, I've only heard of that for individuals who are blind or have low vision, but there's so much that we're talking about today with assistive technology that can benefit individuals of all different types of disabilities and abilities, if you will. So somebody who maybe is, has learning disabilities and uses screen reading software. I also use screen reading software as an individual with a physical disability because I can just lean my chair back, I can relax, I can have that software be read articles and text and any research I'm doing out loud to me, and it helps with that overall physical fatigue, if you will. So there's lots of different ways to be thinking about this. Over to the right-hand side, just some images of different ways to put paper products up for display. So that way if you need to read or you need to reference it, there's just different ways of holding that paper.
So, one of the things that we want to make sure you're aware of is that a lot of our partners continue to update their videos in real time. So for example, Claro Read, which has all kinds of cool solutions when it comes to reading and writing and understanding information. They have a great video series that you can check out, along with a lot of the apps. Microsoft Seeing AI, for example, it's a free app. one that Danny actually turned me on to, and I love it. They have awesome videos. We have actually started creating a very specific video series for you that's going to be based on what are some of the best note-taking strategies that are out there, what are some of the best reading and writing solutions that are out there, and that's all a part of this awesome webinar series. So you'll have access to those videos, and it'll be soon, and we're thrilled to have that. So look for those resources, and we will keep you posted. I'm sure that Rosani will be able to send out an email to let you know when they'll be live and ready for you to not just review and access, but for you to also share. When we're talking about communication, there are lots of solutions that you need to think about, and specifically, you want to think about low-tech, mid-tech, and high-tech solutions. Some people automatically go to high-tech solutions and they think, oh gosh, if the person's having trouble communicating, they need a high-tech solution. They need that iPad, or they need that, app on their phone, whether it's a, Android or whether it's an Apple device. But honestly, most people that use communication solutions that are alternative and augmentative communication solutions, they are still using low-tech solutions to communicate. They're using sometimes images, sometimes they're have one button where you just hit the button and it says one thing. Or they can have a flip book, which is the image that's in the middle, that's laminated, and it actually really helps in the workplace. We often customize these. We have amazing speech-language pathologists on our team that can actually sit down and help people understand what do you really need in the workplace, and what is it that you're really trying to communicate in the classroom, and what are you trying to communicate in your church, synagogue, faith community, or what do you need to communicate when you're out and about. And then we have more dynamic solutions and static solutions. The difference between those, a static solution is a pre-recorded message and the image never changes. But a dynamic solution would be some of those apps where you can actually piece together words and sentences and thoughts in real time. We see this across the range of individuals that we work with. And as I said, don't underestimate those low-tech, no-tech solutions. And so keep that in mind as we move through that.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in for visual and non-visual access. This is an area where I spend a lot of my time because these are a lot of solutions that I have used throughout the years and continue to use now. So on the high end of some of these options, we do have a device called the ORCAM. ORCAM is it's a small camera. It attaches to your glasses, and it does OCR, optical character recognition. So what happens is you point that camera at some text, and there's a few different ways of activating it. You can tap the box, you can press a button, you can point to the text, and it'll scan it and it'll start reading it to you. This is great for reading your mail, reading a document, lots of things one might come across in the workplace. You can also do facial recognition. So there's a little microphone on the camera so that if you're walking around, walking around the city, walking around the office, when somebody comes into view of the camera, if you've programmed their face into it, it'll kind of whisper in your ear the name of the person so that you know, oh, that's Liz coming down the hallway. It also does product recognition as well, so you can identify objects. You can make sure that in the break room that is, your can of tuna or whatever it might be. So these run between $2,500 to $3,500, depending on the features that you need, and they currently have a wireless version that came out recently that's still within that price range. And there is an image to the right here of the ORCAM, the box and the little camera that's attached to the glasses. Another device that's a wearable is NuEyes. There are a lot of different head-based video magnifiers on the market right now. It started out with a product called eSight, and then they were the first on the market. They ran at about $15,000, and then you started to see competition coming on. And as more competitors came in, the price point went down. on some of these devices. So this is one that I've tried out successfully, and we mentioned before we're really big about, make sure you demo, try something before you buy it, because some of these solutions can be pricey for an individual. So with the NuEyes, it does do magnification. You can change the contrast, you can change the color overlays of what you're seeing through the glasses. So there is a little camera in the middle and 2 small displays that sit in front of your eyes. With that, you can stream TV and movies to the glasses. You can do barcode scanning. You can do QR codes with it. It's a very handy device. And again, you just wear them on your face like a pair of glasses. And you can have your prescriptions. If you do have corrective lenses, you can have those inserted into that device, or you can just put them over your current glasses, and that's how I've used them in the past. Something to keep in mind, so there were some great high-tech things, but you always want to look at your inexpensive yet still reliable options. These are things that are going to help with visual access, that don't require charging, that don't have a battery, that you don't have to have peripherals for. So on the left here, there's some high contrast paper. It's bold lined. It's larger so that you can write in it. I have used bold lined paper from kindergarten through college. The great thing about paper like that is you can take it, if you have one piece, you can take it and photocopy it on different colors of paper, so that if maybe blue is an ideal contrast for you, you can customize that to be the way you need it. In the upper middle, they have some bold line markers. So these are the 2020 pens. It's a felt tipped pen. It makes a more bold mark when you're writing on it, so that it's easier to read. Below that, in the middle, you have a bar magnifier. So this is really great for focusing on one line at a time. It'll magnify one line as you go down the paper. So this is great, one, for magnification, but also for just helping a person focus on that line. Sometimes if somebody may have like a nystagmus, or their eyes kind of move around, it kind of helps with that focus. And then on the right, we have some color contrast options. So this is just a piece of translucent material you put over a piece of paper, on a book, over a document, and it just helps with increasing that contrast. So on there they have a variety of colors. There's blues and yellows. A lot of people use yellow, just like the paper that's on the left. So next up, going back to some of those high-tech, high-value solutions, oftentimes when we look at these various levels of technology, sometimes the price tag corresponds to the high, medium, and low-tech solutions. So on the left, we have a video magnifier that has a small device that detaches. So I think this is the Da Vinci. On the back behind the monitor, you'll see a small device about the size of a phone. You can take that with you. You can use it as a small portable video magnifier. You can take pictures with it. It does optical character recognition. What you can do is when you're out in the field or out at the library or wherever you might be, you can take pictures of things you want to read later. You come back home, you dock that on the video magnifier, and then you can do OCR. You can use that larger screen to magnify it. Again, you can put in those color contrasts that are comfortable for you. To the right, up top, we just have some different softwares that are available. So one is JAWS for Windows. Some of you may be familiar with that. If you are blind and a PC user, JAWS is pretty much everywhere. It's a bit pricey for consumers. If you're just an individual purchasing it, you're looking at around $1,200. And then to the right of that, on the same image, by JAWS, is a program called Magic. And Magic is screen magnification. So with that, it's software that you put on your computer so that if you're browsing the web or you're reading anything on your computer, you can enlarge it, you can manipulate the colors. It's a pretty good software. And they do have a version now called Fusion that is both a magnifier and a screen reader in one. Now this is our high-tech solution. They also have a lot of features built into devices now. As Liz pointed out earlier, with speech recognition, most mobile devices, computers, laptops, desktops, whatever it might be, they're going to have some built-in solutions that people can try out. Sometimes the built-in solution will work really well for an individual, and other times they're still going to need that additional support in the form of third-party software. So it's always good to experiment with what's built in first, and then maybe get a trial of JAWS to see if it's going to work well for you. Down in the middle center, we just have some different, again, tablet devices. There's a couple of iPads, some Android devices, there's a Microsoft Surface tablet. So really, you can look at what environment is going to work well for you. When we're working with folks here to identify a good solution, we never tell somebody what they have to use or what they need to use. We're going to explore what they have used already, what they prefer, and we're going to go with that. I have a bias personally for what I like to use, but I never let that impact when I'm working with an individual. We always want to find the solution that's going to work well for that person. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you have a Braille Note Touch. So that is a device that has a refreshable Braille display on it. And this is just an Android tablet. You can type directly on the screen. There is an overlay you can get with it so that it has that Braille keyboard like we showed earlier. So this is a computer for somebody who doesn't need visual access. So you can turn that screen off and just type on the screen with your fingers, making the Braille cells, using swipes and taps to navigate. Or if you have a sighted coworker or a classmate that wants to work and collaborate together, you can turn that screen on so that they can read along with what it is you're looking at. So pretty good device. It's nice, it's portable, the battery life is great on it. Again, that's one of those a bit pricier solution. It is a full-blown computer though, so definitely something to explore.
So when we're talking about hearing access, there's quite a few solutions. Danny, are you going to walk us through these?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So for hearing, there's a lot of different solutions for hearing access. So first we have captioned calls or caption phones. You might sometimes see them called CapTels. So with this, there's so many different kinds, different size displays. Sometimes you can adjust the text to be a bit bigger to do that. So with this, it uses a confidential interpreter to provide captions on a phone call that you have. Now, if you do have a consumer who's deaf or hard of hearing and needs this, or if you're working with somebody, this can be obtained through the Georgia Telecommunication Equipment Distribution Program. They can get a phone like this at no cost to the person. But if you're in a work environment, this can be helpful for people that do need that extra access. It can be good for people that just need extra input, that bimodal input. Hearing it and seeing it can sometimes be very important to people. And with caption phones, the image up here is a desktop phone. You can get these on your cell phone, your smartphone. There's lots of different ways of doing captions with the phone. Next up is audio amplification. So this is just a small device, very affordable. You can get it on Amazon. It attaches to a corded phone and it just increases the volume up to 40 decibels. So for people that just need that extra boost in sound, that is a really good, affordable solution for them. Next up is video phones. So with this, there's a variety of those. They range from, again, a small TV you might keep on your desk to a mobile device on your phone. There are manufacturers like Sorensen and Purple that do this. So they use a video relay service to do that. So an individual would be signing into the camera, and then an interpreter would take that and then relay that to an individual, a hearing individual on the other line. So that way it increases communication and it makes sure that people have access both for personal calls and for private things. Just like with the captioning, this is confidential, so people can call doctor's offices, they can call places that do handle sensitive information and be comfortable that nothing is going to be released. All right, so just other options for hearing access. You have infrared systems that require a receiver in line of sight, and then on the other end you have induction loops, which communicate with a person's hearing aid to, a speaker would be using a microphone, and that sound would be transmitted directly to the individual's hearing aid if they have a T-coil device. And the image up here just shows the difference. The red line going around the room would be an induction loop, and the blue line going to a box in the middle would be an IR system.
So the next slides that we're going to go through, we're going to move through quite interesting territory, which is about apps. I remember in 2007 when apps started coming out on the market, and some people thought it was a fad. Well, here's the good thing, is that there is an app for that. There continues to be an app for that, and there will, I hope, always be an app for that. So figuring those things out. The way that you can find some of these apps that we're going to be talking about, and a whole bunch of other great resources, is actually in our Tools for Life App Finder database. You will find vetted apps, ones that have been tried, and you can search by price, by system or platform, whether it's Apple, Microsoft, Android, and even BlackBerry still, and then even function or name. These are definitely some of our favorites, and so we're going to zip through this part of thinking about optical character recognition. There are several that are out there. There's still some, needs for more high-tech, if you will, solutions, like KNFB Reader, which is $99. There's also Office Lens, which is free. Microsoft CIDI, which I've talked about, that's free. Prismo, which is under $10. And so we'll move to the next. Apps for some of the identification, and this is stuff that actually Danny was talking about, and he's turned me on to several of these. And you'll see that CNAI comes up here too. TapTapC, that's free, and then Google's, which is free. I love this little image over here that says identity crisis, meow, and so that's so funny. But when we're talking about what's out there, there are still a lot of free apps. Note-taking, this is one of those tasks, if you will, that crosses across multiple disabilities. I can absolutely tell you that's an issue for me. I think Danny could say it's an issue, and I think Liz could say it's an issue. When it comes to input, but also output, if you will, organization, all of that. Good Notes, we still recommend that. It's under $8 at $7.99. Evernote, if you haven't tried it, it's got some great features and worth checking out. It's free. And then, of course, Liquid Text, which is free.
Fun fact, Liquid Text is made by a Georgia Tech graduate.
Go Jackets. Danny, do you want to talk about scanning?
Yeah, so scanning is something that I use a lot. So this is whenever you have any kind of document, any kind of paper material, you can take a picture of it, and then with that picture you can then enlarge it, you can add color overlays, you can do OCR on it. So with Scanner Pro, that one is one that will identify the edges of the text automatically, take the picture without you having to do anything. It's less than $3. You also have Office Lens, which we mentioned earlier from Microsoft. This is really good for whiteboards. It reduces the glare, takes the picture, it will save that. And then you also just have your camera. With your smartphone, you can take a picture of something and then manipulate that either on the phone or with software later on. And there is an image here that's just the Scanner Pro logo.
So when we're talking about why assistive technology, this statement has been around for a long time. And it says, for a person without a disability, technology makes life easier. For a person with a disability, technology, assistive technology specifically, makes life possible. It's true. I think any of us could tell you that this is absolutely true. We encourage you to use assistive technology. And we do, I can honestly say this, I've not met anyone who is living the dream, has the job they want, went through school with no problem, what have you, that has a disability that has not used any assistive technology. So it concerns me when we're not focused and understanding the link between success and happiness and all of that in assistive technology.
This slide up here just has our contact information. So we're Tools for Life. We're here at Georgia Tech under the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation, CIDI. If you need to reach us, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 1-800-497-8665. You can also contact us through the Tools for Life website, and that email address is www.gatfl.gatech.edu. So again, please reach out to us if you need us, and thank you so much for spending your time with us today.